What's going on, everybody? Another day of Steelers training camp in the books, day 12. Let's recap it here on Steelers training camp rewind. First off, this team's getting a little banged up. Deshaun Elliott went down with a leg injury. Darius Rush was checked out for an ankle injury. Braden Fajoko dealing with a shoulder injury. But some guys returning to the field: Jeremiah Moon, Grayland Arnold, Kyron Johnson, Rodney Williams. Alex Highsmith didn't practice today. Roman Wilson's still out. And so we do see a few of these guys that are being held out. They're not going to play on Friday against the Texans, so it's fine. But some of these depth guys that are returning, specifically at outside linebacker, Marcus Golden didn't practice today either. Man, they got an opportunity. But let's talk about some things that did happen today on the field. Pretty physical practice again. A little bit more passing than yesterday. Wasn't super different than yesterday, though. A lot of tone-setting stuff. And the Steelers' run offense looking good today, man. Naji Harris in particular really cooking out here. He is so good in one-on-one matchups. When you get him in space and you get him up against a slot corner, a safety, a linebacker, for his size, he is deceptively extremely quick lateral. And he runs through arm tackles. And he runs physically. And he was just grinding out yards today. And so I really like that from Naji Harris. He is such a dynamic player in short areas that I think people really underrate just how dynamic he can be, because he makes these great cuts and can break these tackles in space. It's so hard to tackle Naji Harris one-on-one if you're a defensive back. It just is. It doesn't happen a lot. And so he really stuck out today. And that team run, too, we continue to see Troy Fautanu at right tackle. Broderick Jones and Dan Moore Jr. are splitting it about half and half right now. On the left side, they're working with the ones and the twos. Broderick Jones is a straight-up cleaner, man. I mean, he draws guys out of their gaps. If an edge rusher's trying to hold the edge, Broderick Jones moves that guy. If he's pulling in space, he goes out and gets him. Fautanu is super athletic. Haven't really seen, a highlight like we have with, say, Zack Frasier or Broderick Jones, where they send guys into the dirt. But what we have seen is him get to his spots against TJ Watt, be competitive. TJ gets him sometimes, of course he does. TJ Watt is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. But what happens with Troy Fautanu is you see he grows, he learns. For example, 2 weeks ago, he was really struggling against Nick Herbig in that small speed rush archetype. Now he's really a lot better with them. He's learned how to kind of get to his spot on time, what sets work against those guys, how to work his hands, punch timing, mixing up sets, different things like that. So you're seeing him grow. You're also seeing Zack Frasier grow. Today he had a beautiful block on a screen. It was a throwback screen, and he led them out into space, him and Spencer Anderson, and he just depleted somebody in space. He's really growing nicely. You can see the game starting to slow down for him. And again, I think the speed of the game is slowing down for him, and that's where the biggest area of growth remains for him. Punch timing, make sure he doesn't allow his chest to kind of pop out, and that will force those defensive linemen to really actually have to beat him truly instead of being able to bull rush him through his chest. And it's really hard to beat Zack Frasier, on anything other than bull rushes, because he's such a technically sound player. He's a very strong player. He's got great core strength, great anchor ability. So it's tough to beat him if he doesn't expose his chest by punching out late. So I think he's done a nice job. I talked to Grady Brown today as well, one-on-one. Talked a little bit about Beanie Bishop. Says they are very impressed with Beanie Bishop and the aggressiveness and fearlessness he plays with. So it seems like Beanie Bishop continuing that rise. He's had a little bit, he's had some more lumps this week, I think, than he had last week. But he's a UDFA, starting to learn how it goes about in the NFL. He is in line to start on Friday, and I think in line to start week 1. So I do think Beanie Bishop is doing a lot of good things. Corey Trice, Grady Brown basically said they are trying to hold back Corey Trice because they are trying to get him into games healthy. And right now he's playing a lot of dime backer, not as much outside cornerback, but a lot of dime backer to kind of showcase what he can do there. His length in the slot is a real weapon for this team. And so he's somebody to watch out for on Friday. I think they're going to kind of unleash him in a way they haven't out here. It seems like Grady Brown's really optimistic about that. Also talked with him about Joey Porter Jr. and Dante Jackson, specifically about half-field coverages. We know that the Steelers want to be kind of a press man team. They've drafted these big corners that can press recently, but Dante Jackson is obviously a fast, quick, smaller corner. He can press, but he has some play strength concerns. So he's more of an off-man guy or a zone guy. And that's basically what Grady said to me is, yes, he can play press. Yes, he can play off and zone. We'll probably play him more in off, and there's going to be different half-field coverages that they'll do this year. So that's going to be interesting to watch. I also think one more thing that really stuck out to me today was just the tier of the wide receivers. You know, Brandon Ayuk aside, we'll see what happens there. I think there's a clear delineation of performance that I've seen through 12 practices. For example, George Pickens is absolutely the tippy top. He made a gorgeous one-handed catch on screen, just proving he's an alien again. I think he's the number one, obviously. But then I think there's a pretty clear defined tier 2, which is Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson. I think Van Jefferson's a little more separated there, but I think those are wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 right now. Then I think it's Quez Watkins and Scotty Miller, who, again, have kind of separated themselves. And then I think it's the rest of the guys. So I really think we're starting to see the delineation. And George Pickens is having a great camp, running more intermediate routes, going over middle of the field more. And then we're also seeing Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson stick out in really good ways as well. All right, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with more from the Steelers Training Camp Rewind. And, of course, Friday, we have coverage live from Acrisure Stadium. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for listening, everybody.